Not only are they bombing the people of Gaza, but they're literally starving them too, and they're blocking aid to get to them, food and things like medicine. They're blocking
war, Jimmy.
it.
It's a war.
That's what people say, Jimmy.
Come on, it's a war.
Bad things happen in war.
Of course, you starve kids in a war, and then complain about Putin doing it right out. It's amazing.
It is amazing. So expert says Israel. UN expert. Says,
are you an expert?
Are you an expert? Says Israel's forced starvation of Gazans is genocide. Intentionally depriving people of food is clearly a war crime.
They're saying they're doing it. They've been doing it for how long now? Right out of the gate, no water, fuel, or food.
That's what they said they were going to do.
Until Hamas surrenders.
Until Hamas surrenders.
2 million people.
That's a war crime.
Yeah.
1 million of those people are children. Did you know that? 1 million of those people are children.
I think you did it to old people or whoever the fuck. That's a crime.
The top United States expert on the right to food on Tuesday accused Israel of perpetrating genocide by intentionally starving Palestinians during the relentless assault on Gaza. Most of Gaza's 2.3 million people, around 90%, have been forcibly displaced by Israeli bombardment and invasion. They're starving. 90% of the people in Gaza are starving. Okay? This isn't a war. This is a genocide. Israeli forces are bombing food production and distribution centers, destroying crops and killing livestock, attacking fishers, and firing on and blocking aid convoys. This isn't a war. That's not a war. Children are dying while people desperately try to survive, are resorting to eating whatever they can get into their stomachs, including grass, livestock feed, and horses. Intentionally depriving people of food is clearly a war crime, says Michael Fakhri of the United Nations Special Rapporteur on the Right to Food and a law professor at the University of Oregon. Israel has announced its intention to destroy the Palestinian people in whole or in part simply by being Palestinian, for being Palestinian. He continued, in my view, as a UN human rights expert, this is now a situation of genocide. This means the state of Israel in its entirety is culpable and should be held accountable. So what it means is the Israeli government and those people in the Israeli military are just like Nazis. In fact, you could call them Nazis. In fact, I do. There are no reason to intentionally block the passage of humanitarian aid or intentionally obliterate small-scale fishing vessels, greenhouses, and orchards in Gaza, other than to deny people access to food.
Maybe Ashkenazis.
Here we go. Here we go.
So even before Israeli forces moved into Rafah, we were raising the alarm that every single person in Gaza is hungry, and that at least 1/4 of the population was starving, and that famine was imminent. So at this point, I mean, I'm running out of ways of describing the inhumanity and the violence and the brutality. Even if there was a ceasefire today, already the impact is affecting generations because so many children have been affected. So the key thing to remember is that over 1 million children live in Gaza. Their future is at stake. What we know is that children under 5, this is 335,000 children, are at the risk of permanent physical and cognitive impairment. We've never seen this degree of hunger. We've never seen an entire population like this. So this is over 2.2 million people made to go hungry so completely and so quickly. So the problem is that not only is Israel slowing down and at times blocking humanitarian aid, it's also destroying the food system within Gaza based on all the statements that we've been reading and all the statements that Israel has been made in both as government and individual authorities. Their intent is ethnic cleansing. Their intent is to punish all civilians, all people in Gaza. Their intent is to push them out of Gaza, to punish them collectively. And so this war is not about self-defense. This war is not about Hamas attacking on October 7th. Israel's intent is to punish all Palestinians simply because they're Palestinian.
So wait, you tell me a guy never attacked you and you had to defend yourself by slowly starving his family to death? You don't have a right to that self-defense? To starve the family of your attacker?
Under Article 2 of the Convention of Prevention and Punishment of Crime of Genocide, the crime of genocide is defined as killing members of a group, causing serious physical or mental harm, intentionally inflicting on the group conditions meant to destroy it in whole or in part, imposing measures meant to prevent births, or forcibly transferring members of the group. So this is the definition of what a genocide is. That's what they're doing. And Anderson Cooper doesn't want you to talk about it.
Well, if it offends you to call it genocide for some reason, whatever else it is, it's still real bad. You don't have to have a magic word on it to know that's a crime that's going on.
The amount of food entering Gaza, which even before the war was under an Israeli economic stranglehold, they were counting calories.
I know.
That's like real Nazi stuff.
Yeah, real German precision.
Yes.
Like making a Volvo.
So it has fallen dramatically in recent weeks amid Israeli attacks targeting police escorting aid convoys. This has exposed the convoys to attacks and looting by criminal groups and desperate civilians, forcing the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East, or UNRWA, to suspend humanitarian deliveries. Israeli civilians are also, by the way, the Israeli people are for this. They're cool with this.
The ones who aren't are being beaten in the street by the Israeli soldiers.
And there's Israelis who aren't.
Yeah.
And the Israelis who are against this
getting their asses kicked.
Are being beaten in the streets by the Israeli police.
By the heroic IDF.
Yes. Israeli civilians are also taking it upon themselves to block humanitarian aid from reaching starving Palestinians by traveling in caravans to border crossings to prevent aid trucks from entering Gaza. Their actions have sometimes taken on a perversely festive atmosphere. Last week, right-wing extremists set up a giant inflatable bouncy castle where aid trucks are meant to pass through the Karim Shalom border crossing. Get ready, there will be inflatables, cotton candy, popcorn, and slushies, the organizer of an aid blockade announced. The following day, Mohammed Fatah, a 2-month-old baby, starved to death in Gaza City. He wasn't the only one.
Wait, so they set up a blockade and then set up like
a party. So they could block. Come on out. We're gonna block. Come on out. We're gonna have slushies and a party, and we're gonna block humanitarian aid getting to the Palestinians. Unfortunately, many kids have died in the past weeks. If we don't get the proper aid urgently, we will be losing more and more to malnutrition. He also said on Tuesday that the speed at which malnutrition is spreading among Gaza's children is astounding. The bombing and people being killed directly is brutal, but this starvation and the wasting and stunting of children is torturous and vile. It will have a long-term impact on the population physically, cognitively, and morally. All things indicate that this has been intentional. As The Guardian noted, intentionally starving civilians by depriving them of objects indispensable to their lives, including willfully impeding relief supplies, is a war crime, according to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court.
Okay, why'd World War II end? If Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Jimmy, come on, it's a war. It's a war.
That's what people say. Indispensable objects include food, water. I had Young Turks defended nuclear bombing of
The
Japan.
Fat Turk said that? I'm surprised.
They defended it. In my face. Indispensable objects include food, water, and shelter, which Israel is systematically denying the Palestinians. Starvation is a war crime under the Geneva Convention. It was also recognized as a war crime in general violation of international law by the UN Security Council in 2018. Experts say an immediate ceasefire is the best and quickest way to avert further catastrophe.
We don't need a lecture, Jimmy. Let's just talk about the politics of this. Come on, let's just keep it to the politics. I mean, that's like every day is a sicker goddamn thing. And I'm noticing a split between my friends who are like, there's a bunch of people who have no idea, okay? And there's some that are like, yeah, no, you got to do that. The thing that's shocking to me is like,
that people say you have to do this.
And I'm like, I don't remember even in our worst moments of Iraq where we did some not great things. A thing where we were starving the kids and setting up cotton candy just out of reach. Seems a little vindictive and a little bit, I don't know. I don't want to say that they're not the most moral military on the planet, but they sure don't sound like it.
And they point the finger at Putin. They still get people to hate Putin. Putin never did anything like this.
That's one thing I'm happy about is this psychopath shit happening at the same time as they're trying to go, why don't you ask Putin about Navalny?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, that's just beautiful. That's a thing that you really can't. You can say all the propaganda you want, But unless people are being paid enough to purposely not look at it, they're going to have to look at it because you're putting them up side by side. And it's like looking at Anderson Cooper next to that, what's her name? Tina.
Yeah, Nina Turner.
The contrast is astounding.
I couldn't agree more. Hey, come see us live on tour in Los Angeles, Palm Springs, Stockholm, Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Berlin, Copenhagen, Oslo, Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, Cortland, New York, Oakmont, Pennsylvania, right outside Pittsburgh, El Paso, and San Antonio, Texas. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets.